Hi guys, so today we're going to go over the game from between Pampas and us. It was in ESL, it was only one game. It was on StoneKeep. The end score was 4-3, and I made like a little presentation to show you what kind of things we're going to go over. So first we're going to go over the team compositions very quickly, just so everyone remembers, and to kind of identify everybody's role, to make sure that once we go through the game that everybody, to kind of look at who's playing towards their win conditions, who's playing towards their role, and who's not. We're also going to go over the Jorgos ultimates. I think there's certain conditions that have to be true for a Jorgos ultimate to happen. So the goal there is for the Jorgos to survive, so we're going to go over that and talk about it a little bit then. The Makoa game plan tactic. There I don't think King really recognized his role very well, so we're gonna go over specifically what his job is and how he should be managing his hooks and what he should be going for. And then during the game we'll also show this. And then the last thing I want to talk about is bucket behind tactic is what I call it. And it's just something that happens quite often, and it's an idea that I want to throw out for you guys to try, and some communication tips while doing it. Next slide. Okay, so these were the team compositions. So I love this draft. Props to Mojito. You got the Torvald, you got the Genos and the Buck. So that's already a very strong trio. And then Jorgos is great as well, and Mako is great as well. I have no idea how they let you have all of this, but it's really great, especially on StoneKeep. And then what they have is the Fernando Grok that works very well together, Terminus for on point. So they've got their aggressive tank with Fernando, their defensive tank with Terminus, and Grok to help out the Fernando. Then Bomb King just because he's straight up overpowered, and Dumba to round it all up. I think it's also a very strong draft. I think yeah, they can combo some ultimates, which is nice. They can combo the Maldamba, the Bomb King. They can have Grok as more of like a counter thing if they want it, or just with the Bomb King as well. There's a lot of things they can do. They can also combo the Fernando Bomb King ultis, and then what we can do is, so our ultimates are way more I want to say solo, because that's the way we've gone about it so far, but I would like for the Jorgos ultimate to be more of a team-based ultimate, but it's a chapter that I'm covering later. The Mako ult is kind of a solo ulti. The Torvald is, I want to say, a team ulti. You have to make pressure on the opposite side of the map, and then Torvald. So Torvald standing left, you make pressure on the right side, and he ultis them all off the map. Um, what I would like to see is like Makoa aggressing and then Buck jumping on that same target, and King saying like when that should happen. So another thing I want to do for the future, but so I'm not very creative. I want to make like a list of what all compositions have. So if they have kill potential, and then we rank them between 1 and 10. If they have um, a strong front line, 1 to 10. If they have sustain, 1 to 10. If they have long range, 1 to 10. If they have short range, 1 to, I guess, range range 1 to 10. If they have a cleanup, 1 to 10. In this chart here, you kind of see, I just put them on like each side and kind of labeled the differences. And I think so one thing we see from the side of Pampas is that they have pretty strong tanks in your face. They've got mobility so they can easily get in and out. The Terminus just survives forever, and they've got very high sustain. So that means that typically they're going to be standing on point, and we have to go around getting the kill potential with the Buck, with the Makoa. So that's kind of how our Makoa and Buck should be playing to try to get the kills and then converge on point. So the next thing I want to talk about is the drugless ultimate conditions. So when I'm talking about these conditions, I kind of want you to think about it like a power bar that you see on the right side. So let's just go over the conditions first. So you've got, in this composition especially, the Fernando ulti has to be down, or you have to kill like somebody away from the Fernando ult. The tank shields Drogos. So in this composition, I think it would be ideal if Torvald shielded the Drogos as he hit his target, just to absorb some damage, make sure that the Drogos survives. I think Makoa can also do this. If Drogos calls out which target he's ulting, then the Makoa would go to that target and shield. And then another condition, pressure the damage dealers. So Kick Owners is going to call out which target he's ulting, and then if that target is kind of in the open, that means everybody's going to be able to hit him. So if Buck jumps on like a long range damage dealer, or for example in this case it would be the Bomb King, where the Makoa goes for a hook on anybody really at that specific moment, then there would be a lot less chance that the Drogos dies. And then the other thing, nobody can damage the Jorgos ultimate. I mean, that's pretty basic. All that damage that you're putting on on a person that's gonna die within a few seconds anyways is completely wasted, and you're getting zero value for whatever damage you are doing. So for all of these conditions, I think Cake Owners has to read them and then kind of be able to communicate effectively to his team if that stuff has to happen or not. If the tank has to go to the target, if the Buck has to jump the damage dealers. So then what I suggest is if it's just like a lone tank, he's not going to take any damage. He can kill him by himself. He can say solo ulting Terminus, for example. And that happens quite a few times in the game, and we'll see that. And then say he needs some help, he can just say like a standard ulting Fernando, and then everybody knows, okay, this is my role right now, this is what I have to do, and you just perform. And then for another example I can imagine happening is maybe a Jaguar Falls, and he just wants to go for a very early ultimate, but he doesn't really know who and where, so he'd just say like ulting Darkroom in Jaguar Falls, and then the tank knows, okay, we don't know exactly who we're going to go for yet, but I'm going to go Darkroom and shield there, and make sure he can get out afterwards. So that's the idea behind the Drogo's ultimate conditions. So yeah, this will go over a bit more when we're actually watching the game. You gotta go for kill potential. What you do a lot is stick in the middle, and your hooks aren't very surprising. And if you're going for that kill potential, you gotta have some nice hooks. Also, you can't just be. You're also not using your hook as for displacing people. You know, you gotta, if you're hooking a tank, at least put him in a weird position afterwards, like a Terminus. If you hook him when he's about to die, at least make it so he can't ulti afterwards. Like hook him into church or something, or hook him into keep, and then his ultimate is a lot less effective if you're gonna hook a tank. And then the other thing I want to see is when you go in, like on this composition with Jorgos, with Buck's gonna have a different position than you. Jorgos is also going to have a different position than you, so it's very hard for people to follow up your hooks, and I want you to realize that. And then an easier way to get kill potential on your hook, especially when you're running half shell, like you need damage from somewhere, so why not call out your aggression so Buck jumps the same target from a different angle, and then you roll into him and then hook a bit later, and that's definitely going to create some kill potential. And now that this is the last thing I want to talk about, it's kind of the what I call the Buck behind tactic. The idea is that a lot of the times Buck is like somebody with super high mobility, so he gets completely behind the enemy team, and they kind of ignore him for a bit. until the buck aggresses. So what I want to see, or something that I think could be valuable, is buck just walks forward instead of jumping, and he goes to like sit on a support that's in the back, and then then the enemy team's gonna call it out to his team, and they're gonna turn around and focus the buck. And that's why I want buck to keep his jumps back for a retreat, so he kind of baits them, and while the people are distracted, he calls out to his team, go aggressive now, because we have those surprising Makoa hooks. If everybody's looking backwards to the, or some people are looking backwards to the buck, then rolling in forward would be really, really nice for the Makoa hook. Same with Jagos, he could just run in if a bunch of people are distracted. So yeah, I would like to try that if we play with Buck. I want Froglander to call that out. Okay, so now we're gonna jump into the game, and this is why I think it's important that we have a strategy shot caller. And what I want is that somebody takes over this role. I think it should be King. Could also be Mojito. Could also be Sleepy. It's a strategy shot caller, and it's the guy who thinks about the compositions a lot, thinks about what tactic would be the most effective to run. And I think we have a lot of problems in this game because our strategies are quite weak. Because we don't have a strategy in the beginning, not everybody knows what to go for, and you kind of just go to a position and you get stuck because you don't know what the game plan is. Also, the reason why it should be one person is because if the same person keeps doing it, then I can really see where the tactics go wrong. Then I don't have to coach 5 people, I have to coach one person for that specific thing, and it'll be much more effective and efficient. So I don't know who did it here, but the decision is to go all in church. We'll see what happens and see what, yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna look at my notes pretty quick. Okay, so if you're gonna go all together, then you kind of want to nuke somebody with your Makoa. You're hoping if you're sacking with 5, you're giving up all these positions, and you better get something out of it. Or there's a chance you won't get anything out of it, but at least spread out once it fails. I don't want you to stick as 5 here, because that'll be very weak. So the other thing I don't like that much is here in the first capture they don't punish you for your mistake here where you don't really spread out. Also, I like that Frog is spreading out here, so it's kind of okay. They also don't have any ultimates that in later points will be very effective against this. But I definitely don't like the 2 tanks staying very close to each other here. It's just a bad plan in general. Also, Koa, from here you're not going to get too many angles, like Buck zoning them out of this area. Go play somewhere on the flank. Go play with Buck, or go through under or something, or do something. If you stick around the middle, you're going to see in the next minute or so, you're only going to be rotating around here, trying to go for a hook. So far you've missed 2. But on the other hand, they are keeping position, so it is a viable tactic, but now I would like you to do something else. But do you see here? You're still playing through the middle. But in the end, it doesn't matter, because we do get a kill, and then it's just cleanup. But yeah, this is why you get punished. You get the grok, and there's bounces happening between Mojito, Sweepy. You're not spreading out enough, and that's what playing in the middle benefits the grok. You also haven't gotten a hook this whole time. You do have 63%, but Mojito could have been on the point. Right here, Mojito's not really zoning anybody. He doesn't want to stack with you, and that's why he's not on the point. So you kind of stole his position from... You stole the position from Mojito and didn't get any value yourself. I like how Buck's up here. But yeah, now we fuck. Snow King, I'm not sure why you get off your horse. You're going to the same exact position to where you're playing, like, if you think about the compositions, Mojito is the tank point, the point for on tank, and you're the tank that has to go find kill pressure. If you hook a Fernando, it's not going to be much. If you hook a Grok, it's not going to be much. If you hook a Terminus, it's not going to be much. So they are positioned effectively, but if you come here and you start pressuring him out, and then one you clean up this kill, then you start getting on the flank, and then you start pressuring the two valuable hooks more. But sticking in the middle, you won't find any value. Also, your point, like, look at the Grok bounces here. Also, the shield doesn't really block anything, but I guess you're not playing with a damage dealer, so that doesn't really matter so much. That's a nice LT sleepy. Or, I mean, you get a kill. So this is one of the things that was in the presentation. Kikoner's not like he rushed his ultimate 230. It's pretty good. Sees a tank all the way by himself, pretty healthy. Then I would like him to say solo ulting Fernando. Everybody else ignores it, goes towards point. So that's a solo ulti. That's pretty good. And now I kind of missed it, but Buck jumps from here to here by himself. This is where I want to see Makoa being there at the same time. If Makoa rolled in, went on the back line, and then so Makoa is the distraction and Buck is the cleanup. In this case, Buck is the distraction and the rest of the team is the cleanup, and that's not so effective because Buck's a cleanup champion. He's not gonna go nuke somebody, not with bulk up. But yeah, all good so far. The first point goes pretty well. I love how Jogos is coming on the left side here. I think in StoneKeep it's very effective. You kind of have to push people past from the payload, from the point to about the first choke, which is here. You really have to focus this left side. And focusing this right side is strong, but it's more to go capture the high ground, which is more effective for the push later, for capturing this choke. And it's like a prepping thing rather than pushing the payload to the choke.
Alright, they're getting hot,
So yeah, you see we clean up this side and then the payload starts pushing. So here, Makoa, you come straight from your horse and you go straight to the middle again. Why didn't you go high ground? I think that's very effective, especially because Torvald's probably, yeah, he has ulti. So the idea with the choke, how you push past it, is you make shit happen on this side. You go with Jorgos or Buck or whoever. Jorgos and Buck can easily get on and off the high ground, but if you're here and you push it deep here, start a fight over here, then the Torvald gets a lot of value. And going with your horse through the middle, you're going for the hooks then and for the kill potential. But if you remember what I said before, you're getting a hook on these guys who are in the middle, and the Damba and the Bomb King aren't gonna get hooked a lot there. Or the chances are very low. Only if they fuck up, really. Another thing that I want to comment on is what Cryptic did. Was Cryptic, even with the Torvald ulti being up, they put Torvald here, and they just made him spam down down this corridor, and they kept the Makoa down here. And then it was a bit like the team that they were against was defending better, and they were holding the choke. I think it was Bullet's team that I saw it with. And then Bullet came here, and then as soon as the Bullet was playing Fernando, so a tank that can't easily go back up to high ground, he hooked him down, and that was a very valuable hook because then they captured the high ground, and the Torvald and whoever was up here pushed all the way through to here, and then it was really nice. So Makoa can be played here, and Torvald can be played up top, but I want you to realize what are the strengths of both. With now Mojito here, there's no point for you to be here. And I feel Terminus looks much squishier than before, or it's the buffed up bug that really chunks him out, but it's really nice. So yeah, King, I love your ulti here, but you see it, they're all Fernando's shield, and you. But I do like going deep with the ulti and getting that pressure, pushing them all back.
Okay, real talk. Time to stop that guy.
Terminus still doesn't have his ult, that's surprising.
That feels so good.
Capture point spawns in 15 seconds.
So here again, you go for the kill, and I want you to look at the Makoa hook. I think you can, like, hook him more when he's lower, so you get the kill, so you can nuke him in your hook. Because now you hook him when he's pretty healthy, and it doesn't really do anything. This is also what I was saying at the beginning. If you don't have a strategy shot caller, you don't see this situation happening when you play from church. So the problem is they all get their positions high ground, and if you're all hiding behind walls and shit, the Bomb King gets a free ulti, and then it's really hard to kill him when he just rolls like that, or rolls on both tanks. So you really put yourself in a terrible position against Bomb King ulti, and they combo the Dumbbell ulti just for extra shitting power. Here's a Kekonis. You didn't respect all the situations that you needed to have to Jorgo's ultimate. So yeah, you don't die because they weren't so focused, but that didn't give us any value.
Enemy dub, look out!
I meant for it to
Like maybe you could argue that now the Fernando ultimate is on cooldown, but
Slash that
you're
guy
like
fire.
10%
Slide
HP.
in and get on the
I
payload.
don't love it. But yeah, I think we lost that point just because we were all in church. They used two ultimates and they had comeback mechanic. This is also the next thing, the last slide of my presentation, what I'm talking about. So this is the buck behind tactic, and I kind of want to see how we pull it off. So here, Buck goes forward. I would like him to not go on point because the tanks, the damage won't matter so much. So why not just run here, and then you get the Bomb King distracted. You start peeking here, then he has to come back, and then a tank has to come here to help him out. As soon as the Bomb King and one of the tanks are distracted, you get low, you can jump easily back to this high ground here, or even back to here. Then you brought two people out of the fight, and then the Makoa, the Torvald, like these four people can go very aggressive towards and get a hook on three people that are kind of caught alone, you know? So that's kind of what I want to try. I think it just has bad execution here because one, it's the wrong timing, both tanks are low, so I think you should wait a bit, and the other or yeah, go clean up the Bomb King that's alone, but yeah, this is the tactic. Do you see three people run back, you kill one, and now I want you
That
guys to
enemy
go
is
hella ham.
unstoppable. Somebody do something.
And this is a tactic that it actually works pretty effectively here. That's actually exactly what I want to happen. And now because you go hard, Dialer didn't
Alright,
expect
alright,
that
they're getting hot, they're getting hot.
they had to retreat so fast, and he gets caught in the open. So here, this is kind of I like it. I mean, zoning is typically weak, but here you're cutting off all the exits. So this is how I want it to happen. You have, there could be an argument for having one tank here, but these guys have a lot of mobility, so they take the further place from the payload, and these guys have lower mobility, so they take a closer place to the payload. Also, tanks are going to charge through the church much faster than they're going to charge through here. Also, if a tank comes here, he dismounts them, and then they're stuck further from the payload, so they're going to have to waste more time getting back, and Buck can just jump away. So this is I like zoning. If we keep this position, it's fine. Obviously, this is a problem. It should, like, the Fernando was on the Buck for a solid 4 seconds before K-Corners realized. That's just communication. The other thing that happens is I think the wrong person went to go help out. So Mojito, you can't go here because then you're putting yourself very far from the payload, and that's not very effective. You want to help King retreat through back towards keep a solid front line. The idea is to, when you're zoning, you create a line and you pull back that line. And now you're not pulling back that line, you're going to go fight somewhere else, and that leaves other places very vulnerable. Makoa dies, Sweepy can't get any, like, Sweepy can't do anything by himself. And you see now because they're on the payload, you guys freak out. The people with high mobility get out first, Torvald is behind, and now he's going to be stuck by himself because you're not respecting, you're fighting in the open rather than fighting at a choke. Typically, so this is because we're not super organized. It was a nice place to hold them. 2 tanks here. If the 2 tanks retreated here, and the 2 damage dealers would retreat backwards. But then also the damage dealers couldn't really do so much damage in church as soon as the Fernando was on them. So it's much easier to zone them, to hold the choke, instead of zoning them. It's defense. You want to zone when your support is on point, not when they have to aggress towards the point. Yep, and again, Makoa gets cleaned up for fighting not at a choke. And check out this payload. Here again, if you're gonna King, I feel like you went to the wrong position. You're playing with a Torvald that can easily hold connector. If you're up here on the high ground, like, one of the tanks is gonna come to the high ground, push them back, and it's gonna be very annoying for these damage dealers. They're gonna get frustrated. If you're up here, if you came with your horse and you came up here instead of down there, it would have been much more effective. Also, from here, you've got a better vantage point to build a strategy of how to get a hook. Down here, say, like, if there's a tank here, if there's a Fernando here, how are you ever going to get a hook? You're going to kind of peek out and then see a Grok, not a very valuable hook, and you want to see where your valuable hooks are and then react from there. But here you'd have to run all the way back and around to go even remotely close to that Bomb King. Or you would be playing point, trying to hook him down, but the Bomb King, 1, has a much easier time of avoiding your hook if you're down here, and number 2, you're taking the position over from Torvald. You want to create stuff on the right side so Torvald has better ult opportunities. Ironically, you do get the hook. But yeah, even then, you got the hook, but nobody was able to clean him up because you'd already lost your high ground positions, and Jogos had to back off, so you didn't have any follow up on your hook. Maybe with Pluck though, you probably would have had it. It's a nice ulti, King. But yeah, you could have gotten that ulti from dropping down from the high ground when they were all low ground as well. So I think the better thing was to be high ground. But I'm drilling that point too much. But yeah, let's check out the zoning again. So here, if you're zoning like this, I guess Buck realizes it. It's very easy for a tank to, like, especially a Terminus that's going to have his ulti. If the Terminus was better, he'd take his horse, run all the way through here, be on point, and then the whole team would realize, have to come back, kill the tank on point, and then the Terminus would ulti, and his whole team would have positions, and that's exactly where he wants to be then, deep in your backline. Yeah, but I guess I didn't look at the time, so I guess it didn't matter. So deep there is okay. But yeah, it's still healthy, healthy, what's it called? Healthy, habits. So yeah, here, maybe a hook on Kamaker would kill him. So this is another amazing ulti by Keiko. He knew the Fernando ulti was down because it was used in the defense over here. So Fernando goes by himself. Keikoner's record recognizes that, and he would just say solo ulting Fernando. And now this is just a cleanup. Everybody heal up and then fight 5v4. You get the point no matter what.
I'm gonna stop that guy.
So yeah, that's a perfect example of a cleanup kill that Buck gets. It's perfect. So now, this is what happens a lot with teams. We went for the cleanup. I think again, Makoa. I think if you instead went to the high ground here, you'd be much better off, because what good tanks will do is, instead of getting dismounted, their goal is, you're already at 50%, their goal is to get to point. And they're standing here and they're like, shit, do I run through everybody and just brute force it, or do I take this path? Where if you're zoning all here, chances are low you're going to dismount him, and then you can get on point very much easier, you know? You come through here, and then you come sit on the support. Support calls it out. Everybody back in front has to back off because there's a tank on point, and then you give up all that free zoning. Like, then this is useless because everybody's going to be rushing back to point, and your team can get positions. So that's why I'd like Makoa. You didn't have to be here to clean up the kills. Go high ground, and it's much healthier. But yeah, I like how Buck realizes both tanks are here, and then being in this position is very good because you can knock off anybody that tries to do that move. So yeah, hold this with damage, or hold and hold this, or hold this and this. But yeah, they brute force their way through. I think it's pretty. I went too fast for it. It's fine. But yeah, they basically rushed through. You know, that wasn't good zoning. Here also, actually I like that ult. I don't like that ulti. I think it was kind of surprising because the Bomb King reset. That's why you died. Eventually it was two tanks, but they were both low HP, so I think you could have cleaned them up by yourself. Here, Sleepy, I think you know this mistake. Torvald ulti was going to touch the point. You're going to go on point, take some poke, and back out like, what the fuck. But I think you recognize this. Also, you waste the shield from the Torvald. Torvald could shield the Buck instead. Makoa, same thing. I mean, you already had a tank on point. I want to... If the defensive tank is already on point, there's no need to go there and take a bunch of damage. You could argue that if you didn't take this damage, Mojito would have taken that damage and he would have been deleted, but that's his role. Let him be on point before you because he can probably take more damage than you, and number two is you want to go for that kill potential. If he was on point and instead of you running with your horse right here getting 0 kill potential because you're like, or maybe some kill potential if you get a lucky hook on Bomb King through all the tanks, but even then you don't displace the Bomb King in a very useful position. If you came with your horse through church, went through either of the flanks and popped up here, hooked him, you would have nuked him with the buck, or got the Dumba, and the buck could have jumped as well. Like, Torvald could have been on point, you didn't both have to be there. And now also, because you touched point, Torvald didn't have to touch point anymore, and he kind of gets off of it. You steal his position, and you make him useless. Yeah, so this I really love. I think kick owners. You realize both tanks are dead. You really abuse that. That's unfortunate. Kamiko doesn't die, but you really go touch it just for an extra overtime, which I like a lot. I think Sleepy may like what I don't understand. I mean, when the Torvald was here and he ulted, you thought to go on point, and then this time when the tank when nobody could have touched it, when you should have touched it, you didn't touch it. So I think I'm gonna look in other games to see if you keep doing this, or maybe just. I'm pretty sure you know when to go point and when not to go point, but here you didn't go point when you were supposed to. I think as a support, you have to realize when it's starting to be a losing fight, and then start to devise a plan that gets you easily on point. So then, as soon as you see both tanks are going down, what I would have done is either damage if you're gonna be able to make a difference, but if you're not gonna be able to make a difference, or just like keep damaging but run over here and then use this to peek, and then you can easily get on point. You could have definitely stalled it for Makoa to be there, and Makoa could have gotten his ulti, and then even if you died with Makoa ulti, they could have gotten some value. Jogo's probably, like, Sweepy could have healed him, he would have been fine, and then there would have been a Makoa ult and Jogos to contest 3 people with Mojito resetting pretty soon. So yeah, that's sloppy. But I still love you. But yeah, I think so far I've covered most of the things in the game. I think I'm gonna pause it here because the video is getting very long, and I don't want to have you guys see the length of the video and kill yourselves. So I'm gonna stop it here. We saw almost everything that I talked about. We never saw a Jorgos ultimate where a shield was truly necessary, or a buck jumping on the Bomb King during the Jorgos ulti, so that's what I would like to see in future games. Other than that, I mean, we do win this game, we do pull it off pretty well. Well played, guys.